Well, this is what 100 kilos looks like. And that's what Jon Gabriel managed to lose without dieting. That's Jon there in the before shot. And this is what he looked like when he weighed 186 kilos. But the weight came off and he kept on getting slimmer and slimmer. And this is what he looks like right now. And he says that anyone can do it. And I'm pleased to say that Jon joins me now. Good morning to you, Jon.
That was actually 2.5 years later. That wasn't 7 years later.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
You did it much more quickly than even we thought. Yeah. Can we go back to 2001 when you did weigh 186 kilos? How did you put the weight on?
You know, I moved to New York. I started working on Wall Street. It was a very stressful job. And it just seemed like, as soon as I moved there, I just started gaining weight. And I don't know why. But I knew, in retrospect, I know it had a lot to do with the stress in my life. Mm-hmm. But I started gaining weight, and I really tried to lose it. You know, I gained 5 kilos the first year, 5 kilos, another 5 kilos the year after, and I started going on a diet. And every diet I went on always followed the same approach. There'd be a whole list of things I couldn't have: no wheat, no sugar, no this, no this. I'd follow the diet to the letter. I'd lose weight. I'd lose 5 kilos, and then I'd stop losing weight. I'd have this big binge. I couldn't take it anymore. I'd gain 5 kilos back, and then 2 weeks later, I'd be another 3 kilos heavier. And so I yo-yoed.
Relate to that.
And this went on for 11 years.
Yeah. And then along came September 11. That was a really significant day for you. Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, I was supposed to fly to San Francisco from New York for a business trip, and I always fly from Newark to San Francisco on the United Airlines flight. And just by coincidence, my business partner booked me on another flight, but if I had booked the flight, it would have been the United Airlines flight number 93 that crash landed in Pennsylvania. Yeah. And that was a big turning point for me, because here I was, I had gained over 100 kilos over an 11-year period, and I was sort of killing myself, and it seemed like the universe gave me a second chance.
So you decided that diets didn't work, but you knew you wanted to lose the weight. So what was it that you did that really turned things around?
Well, I got fed up, and I decided I was never going to diet again, because, like I said, I'd lose weight and then I'd gain more. I'd lose weight, I'd gain more. I decided I'd never diet again. Instead, I'd try to find out why my body wanted to be fat in the first place and what I could do to get it to want to be thin. And I basically dedicated my life to studying the biochemistry of obesity. And I had a very solid biochemistry background from the University of Pennsylvania, and that gave me enough of a background to go through and do all the research on the internet. And I spent hours a day studying biochemistry, and I discovered something really incredible, and that is that our bodies have a fat switch. And this is part of our genetic programming, our genetic heritage. When this fat switch gets activated, your body goes into fat storage mode, and you will gain weight. Because that whole, and I knew this from my experience, because that whole 11 years I was gaining weight, I was really trying to lose weight. I was a very disciplined person. I met with Dr. Atkins himself, face-to-face, for over a month. I spent thousands of dollars with him. Went to the Pritikin Institute. I had naturopaths, doctors, everything. And fitness trainers, and I couldn't lose weight.
But you must have changed what you were eating.
Eventually you do. You see, when the fat switch gets turned off, you're simply not as hungry anymore.
So, but how do you turn the fat switch off?
There's very specific things that turn the fat switch on. Stresses in your life, such as a nutritional famine. You see, you could be eating 20,000 kilojoules a day, but if you're not getting the specific nutrients your body's starving for, you go into what's called a nutritional famine, and that activates these fat programs. Also, certain stresses in your life, just mental stress, can also cause chemistry that activates these fat programs. So what I did was I devised an approach that went through all the different areas in my life that could be activating this fat switch and turned them off. And one is by managing the stresses in my life, adding certain nutrients my body's starving for, and doing a lot of visualization, which is a very powerful way to get your mind and body to work together.
Do you visualize these 100 kilos of fat very often, of sugar? Is that a really powerful image for you?
Not really, no.
No, it's a pretty powerful image for the rest of us.
What was powerful, I remember after I lost the first 50 kilos, I was at home and I was lifting one of those gas tanks, you know, that go in your house. I could barely move it. And I thought to myself, you know, this is 50 kilos, and you can't even lift it.
You were 2 of those more.
So it was a big difference.
Now, you've got some very specific tips for everybody. One of them is keep a picture of your ideal body. Some would say that that is a bit off-putting because it's possibly going to be an unrealistic ideal.
Well, it wasn't for me. I mean, I had a very definite image of how I wanted to look. And that picture that you showed, that after picture, was the exact image.
The six-pack picture?
Yeah, that was the
It's
exact
pretty-
image.
Well, that's not the picture.
Not that picture, though, thanks.
It's the final one, guys.
We get the next one? Yeah,
I mean, look at that six-pack. That is extraordinary.
That was the exact image that I visualized having. And anybody that saw me before would say I was crazy.
Can I ask, I hope it's not too personal, have you had skin removed?
No, I have not.
To be that lean?
I have not. I have not had any surgery. I've never had any surgery in my life of any kind.
Right.
No.
That is very impressive. Include live food, protein and omega-3 in your diet.
These are three things that we're sorely starving for. And what happens is when you're starving for nutrients, your body just stays hungry. It's like you're in a famine for specific nutrients. So rather than dieting, because dieting also activates these fat programs, I say add the foods your body's starving for.
So what's live food? Is that just raw food?
Live food is something that, like, if you look under a microscope, there's something moving. So if you take a piece of, like a lettuce leaf, you look under a microscope, there's going to be things moving. Whereas if you take a bread...
Yeah, but that's quite often the lettuce that you left in the bottom of the fridge 3 weeks ago that you forgot.
Under the microscope, okay? But like if you look at a piece of bread, there's just chemicals.
Yeah.
Years ago, the food we ate had life force vitality in it. Now it's just all processed and dead food. And our bodies are starving for this life force vitality. They're starving for omega-3 fatty acids.
We find that in fish?
Yeah. And the omega-3 fatty acids, depression, bipolar disease, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, all these things, it's because we're starving for omega-3 fatty acids.
Next tip is find ways to relieve stress.
Yeah, because stress causes chemistry in your body that activates this fat switch. It actually causes the same chemistry as a famine for some people, and that can cause your body to want to hold on to weight. So stress, for 90% of the people that have had a lifetime of obesity problems, stress is the real cause, and that has to be addressed.
And would that be alleviated through gentle exercise?
It can be, but it also can be through meditation, yoga. I have a visualization CD that people listen to at night, and it just takes care of the stress issue.
And last one is follow your heart.
Yeah, because if you don't follow your heart, your life is going to be more stressful, because you're not doing what you want, and you're just always tense all the time and unhappy. So I really urge people to take a chance and follow their heart.
Well, the book is called The Gabriel Method. I think we can we see it there, guys? It is shooting to the top of the bestseller list at the moment, and if you are any indication, it looks a whole lot like it works.
It was #1 in Amazon in 3 categories last week.
Congratulations to you.
Thanks.
You'll never see that again.
What's that?
Those 100 kilos again.
I don't think so. No,
Jon,
it's been 5 years, so.
Really good to meet you, and congratulations.
Nice to meet you too,
Very
Lisa.
inspiring
Thanks
story.
very much.
Back to you, Carl. Nice six-pack.
Yeah, it's a big change, isn't it? Massive
Amazing.
change. I'm going to do that straight away. I'm going to follow my heart straight to the banana bread.